All right, we're live. This is Relatives Fight CPS. If you're a relative who's trying to get a child back in your care out of a strange foster home, you need to watch this show. My name is Attorney Vincent Davis, and I've been an attorney here in California 35 years this December, and I am an expert in CPS matters. My co-host for tonight's show is Georgette Truan. Georgette, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is Georgette Truan. I'm the co-host for Relatives Fight CPS, and I'm an advocate for grandparents, uncles, nieces, and all families trying to get their children back.
All right, and tonight we have a very special guest. We have Pepper from the state of California. Pepper, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, and then I'll ask you about your story.
Um, I'm a mother of four. I live in California most of my life, and I love my kids. I love my grandkids.
Okay, well, you're on this show tonight, so you must have some CPS involvement. Tell us what that looks like.
Well, 20 years ago, I had a CFS case against me. The judge told me that it was the fastest that he's ever given anybody their kids back. Little did I know that it was going to affect me 20 years later, but it has. My grandson, on November 2017, told us that he was being molested by his mother, and we've been dealing with CFS since then. The first time we got together with CFS, they took him to a center where they do an assessment. They did the assessment. They talked to him for 15 minutes, and he come out. The social worker said he didn't really talk about the sexual abuse, but he talked about being hit on and kicked into the tree and the other allegations. Then we were going through family court at the time. The family law judge asked for all parties to do an investigation, the CFS and the courts themselves. The mediator did the interview and tried to get a hold of CFS. CFS didn't return his calls, and we went back to court, and CFS had closed the case. They didn't contact us, let us know anything or anything. They just said that they closed the case, which he had went. Now, because we didn't have anything from CFS, he had to go back to visits up there. So it was 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. The first visit was real good. He come home and he was real happy. The second visit wasn't so fortunate. He said, "Mommy punched me in the face and gave me a black eye. And Papa told her to leave and not to come back." The third visit, Mommy chased me through the house with a butcher knife. And I had to hide in Gigi's closet all night. She told me that she was going to kill me and that she hated me. So, during all of this, he was telling his teachers and everybody, other people other than us, was making reports. CFS had to step back in. They know that they dropped the ball. They know they made a mistake. And they failed to protect him. That's what all this is over. They failed to protect him the first time by letting him go back up there and closing the case early. They didn't do a proper interview with anybody. 15 minutes to get a sexual abuse out of a child is nonsense. He's not going to walk into a building of strangers and tell them, oh, yeah, my mom made me touch her here, here, here. He's not going to do it. He doesn't feel comfortable enough. They're supposed to be smarter than that. They take out of context. They think I don't know what they think they're doing, but they're not helping these kids by doing stuff like that. It takes a while for a child to open up. It took him a while to tell us and we're his family. He thought that he was the one that was doing something bad. I had to take that child up there every month to go see his mom. And every month he begged me. He begged me from the bottom of California to the top, please, Mama. Please, Mama, I'll do anything. Don't take me up there. And I had to, because I was ordered by the judge to do so. Nobody was listening to him, and they're not listening to him now. They took him back up there again today. Who's going to be there to sit there and tell me that they're sorry because something really bad happened to them? Nobody. They're not going to be able to fix it. They're not listening to his voice. These people, the only thing that they want is to cause problems within the family. My son never got any services whatsoever from CFS. Not one. It took them 6 months to even come and see him. My son had already had everything set up through the counselors for the baby's sexual assault counseling, his everything. He even had the psychiatrist. He had it all going, even for himself, the parenting classes, everything. He had set up himself. That worker didn't do nothing for him. He didn't do nothing for my grandson. Nothing. He had already completed everything that they could ask him to do, because he went to court and got the minute order, and he found out what he was supposed to do, what the judge asked him to do, and he had it completed. She added more onto it again, had him take more parenting classes and everything over that he had already done. He's done completed his thing twice. What did they do when they made the police report? They took a detention hearing to keep him from having to go back up there because it was court ordered. That was the only way that they could keep him from going back up there. Do you know what they found on my son? He had a medical marijuana license that he had for 7 years because he has a paralyzed stomach muscle, and it makes it easier for him to eat. That's it.
Well, that's not a basis to take a child away if you have a
That's what they
marijuana
took him
card.
for. That is the only thing they took him for.
That is true, Davis. I spoke with her for length today and yesterday. That is actually for a while. Yeah, that's the only reason they took the kid for.
Has anyone ever seen the what they call the sustained or the amended petition to see the allegations regarding the dad?
Yeah,
Because that's not enough.
It was there was a tapestry also on the wall that was a concern to the social worker. That was the only other thing that was mentioned, and it was Adam and Eve, and it was belonged to my father, which had just passed away, and he gave it to James. It's a tapestry of Adam and Eve, and it has scaffolds like somebody's building a statue. And Adam has Eve around the waist like this. Eve has her hands on his shoulders, looking down, and you could see the side of her breast. That was a concern to him. So my son took it down. But that's why the detention hearing was done. That's why they took my grandson. But
When did this happen?
Home.
Wait, hold on, Pepper. When did this detention hearing happen?
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
It's
Now,
been about 2 years ago.
okay, now you said they took the child away from you today.
Yeah.
Are you telling me that the grandchild was placed with you and they moved him today?
No. No, he's been with his dad. They kept him in the home during the detention. Now,
Right, because that's not a basis to take
right.
the kid away.
Now, during all of this, the judge said that he did not want my son to do the visits with the mom because the mom had supervised visits over the internet. Then COVID happened. Now, during all this, because he has the medical marijuana thing, they're having him drug test. Now, he's done give them 26 drug tests that were negative. He got sick in February. Yeah, February. And I gave him Mucinex and Sudafed, and nothing was said to us. Now, in May, May. Now, during all this time, he's doing schooling online. He's doing all of his counseling online. He's doing his visits with his mom online. He's doing, I'd say he was on the computer at least 6 to 7 hours a day. Now, when we first started, they said that he was to have 30-minute visits. It was the social worker bumped him up to 2 hours. He didn't want to do it, and it wasn't because of his mom. It was because he was tired of being on the internet. So the more they forced him to do the visits, the more he didn't want to do the visits at all. Then it started causing him to be really combative when it come to the visits. Well, my son wasn't supposed to do the visits to start with, and I brought this up to him. It was a court order, as a matter of fact, that he wasn't to do the visits. They were supposed to conduct the visits, but they weren't. They left it all in James's lap. So now he's got all of the counseling stuff that he's trying to do for himself and for the child, plus all of the interview stuff with the social worker, plus all of the visits with his mom. And my grandson become very combative is the best way that I can describe it. When you would tell him that he'd have to do a visit, he would throw a fit. He'd do anything in the world to try to get out of it. So they started having one of the social workers do the visits because they said that my son was the reason why he didn't want to do the visits, that he was trying to alienate the mom, even though we've got it on recording of all the things that we've tried to get. If she comes down here, can we take him to go see her? Can we go to the park? Can we do this? To have them together. We're not trying to sit there and keep him from her. We're trying to keep him safe. They just don't understand that. They have to cause conflict no matter what they're doing. They were doing very well co-parenting with each other. This new social worker that had come in said that they weren't supposed to have contact with each other. Now, how are you supposed to co-parent and not have contact? That's an issue. How are you supposed to sit there and be, unbiased against each other if you have a social worker that's telling you, oh, well, they're trying to keep him away from you. They're doing this and they're doing that. She's not supposed to do that as a social worker. She's supposed to go in there and be equal between the two, and she hasn't. She has I would almost say a hatred towards my son, and why I don't understand why. It's very apparent. I mean, it's not.
Well, hold on, Pepper. Let me ask you something. What, the child was living at your home but placed with the father as of today?
He has his own home, and he was placed there until 2 days before Father's Day. 2 days before Father's Day, the social worker, he was at the grocery store with my grandson, And she called him and said, "You need to come home right away. There's something really important that I need to talk to you about." So when my son got there was like 4 police officers and her, and they took him
Why?
because he had missed. Now, like I said, my son had all of this, the psychiatry, the counseling, the everything. And how I told you he was being combative towards the visits with the mom. They said that he has ODD. He doesn't have ODD. They're wrong. He was tired of being on the internet constantly, and he was tired of them telling him, "Oh, well, if you don't feel good, honey, your mom said it's okay if we end the visit." But all of a sudden, now when he tells you that he's sick, you guys are still making him do it. That's gaslighting. You're telling the child one thing and then switching it up on him. And he got mad. He knew what they were doing. He's a very smart child. So he was being combative. They wanted more intense therapy done. So my son went and got another therapist to do more intense therapy, but that wasn't good enough for the social worker because she didn't do it. And she realized, uh-oh, we're at the end of our thing, and I haven't had any services whatsoever for these two. I haven't ordered anything. What's that going to look like when we go to court? So he told my son, "This is what I need you to do. You're going to call them. You're going to tell them that he doesn't have any services right now, because if you don't, he's not going to get these services, and I'm going to take your son." And we have it on recording of him telling him to lie to these people, telling them he didn't have services. He already had services. Now what's this going to do? It's going to add more stuff for my son to sit there and have to keep up with. And he's already overloaded, and he's already told her that he was overloaded. But he did it. Why? Because he was afraid she was going to take his son.
So all they use is scare tactics. That's all they used with Pepper and her son. Scare tactics. And actually have proof of all that, Vincent. They have proof of all that.
Okay, so I want to make sure that I have the story correct. The child was placed with the father, but how did the social worker and why did the social worker take the child away from your house today?
He was never in my home. No, see, I'm not allowed to even be around him. She told me right from the start, I'm not allowed to babysit him. I'm not allowed to take him to the store by myself. He's not allowed to spend the night at my house.
Why? Why would they say that?
Because I had a prior CPS case.
Oh, many years ago.
Yep.
Okay. So why did they take the child from the father today?
He's been gone since Father's Day, but today they removed him from his foster home here in Southern California and moving him up north to where she lives.
Okay, hold on a second. Because I'm trying to follow the story. I understand that it's hard. So the child was in foster care here in Southern California. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And they're moving the child to Northern California to another foster home?
No.
To whose home?
To the grandparents and her home.
To the other grandparents in their home.
Where she lives.
Okay. Got it. And you're the mother of the father then, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Did your son ever fight for custody or to get the child back here in Southern California?
Yes. She actually abducted him to start with. This is how it all got started. She took off with him, said that she was going to go on vacation, never come back. Then she told him that he doesn't have any rights to him, that she was the mom. And so he took her to court. The judge ordered that she bring the child back, and she told the judge, I don't have to do anything. So the judge ordered that we go up there and we get him and bring him back here. And he ordered that his county of residency is in San Bernardino County. Well, we've been going to court for it for 2 years. That's when all of the CFS stuff, well, back and forth for about a year, and then that's when CFS stepped in and they started getting involved. Then when they took the detention hearing, it took it out of the family courts and put it in the dependency court. But yeah,
Okay.
he fought for custody of him. He's had him the whole time.
But why didn't he get custody back is what I'm trying to figure out.
We've never gotten that far yet.
What do you mean?
Through COVID and everything, they didn't do any court hearings. They didn't do nothing. So it's just kind of, he's done completed his case plan, but no, they've never brought it into the judge saying, hey, this guy completed all of his stuff, but she hasn't. So, what do you want to do about this? No, nothing. They just keep stringing it along to another court date, to another court date, to another court date. He should have had his son, and it should have been over with a long time ago.
Did the father ever decide to try to challenge the social worker at a 6-month review hearing, like a trial or anything like that?
The lawyer that he has, pretty much,
Hold on. We're not going to say any names, right?
No. Anytime the social worker says something, okay, let me back up a little bit and then I'll give you an idea of it. When I told you he was sick in February, in May 25th, we went to court. On the 24th, she called James and told him, you tested dirty for amphetamines in February. James was like, what is that? And she said, it has to do with a stimulant. And he said, well, I don't even understand why I would be testing for that. And she said, well, you're testing for that because you've taken some kind of substance that it makes it positive for amphetamines. So she was like, so what we're going to do is we're going to have you take, we're going to put this to the judge and see what he says about it. Well, when we went to court, his attorney said, just agree to anything that they want you to do. Go in there and tell the judge, you made a mistake. And he was like, a mistake for what? And he said, for the methamphetamines. He said, methamphetamines? What are you talking about? He said, it's right here in the report. Didn't you read it? It says you tested positive in February for methamphetamines. He said, no, I didn't. I have her on recording right here because my phone records every conversation that we have. And she told me that I tested positive for amphetamines, not methamphetamines. He says it states clearly that it's methamphetamines. And my suggestion to you is to just agree to anything that they want you to do. Don't say that you didn't do it, because when you do, then it's going to come back on you and they're going to take your son. It's always they're going to take your son. They're going to take your son. I told him he needs to tell him no. If you didn't do it, don't agree to it. He said, but Mama, they're going to take him away from me. And he told him, I'll just do the drug classes. I don't care, Mom. It's the same thing that they did to me 20 years ago. The same exact thing. Had I sat there and fought it, I would have never had no CFS case. But they scared me into it. They told me because my husband was hitting on me that I was going to suffer for it and my kids was going to get taken away, even though I'm the one that called. It's not fair what they're doing to people. And it's obvious that they're doing it for a long time, 20 years, and to now, it's wrong. How many people and how many families have they destroyed because of it? They're destroying my life twice over it. For 20 years, I'm getting punished for something that happened 20 years ago. It's not right. It's not right at all. And now my son, he's suffering because of it too, because I didn't pay my dues. I did everything that they told me to do and then some. So they're telling me that their program and their reunification isn't good enough for themselves, but it's supposed to be good enough for everybody else. But they're not the ones that's upholding it. Then that really makes me feel good about the reunification they're trying to do with my grandson. You know, if you don't think that it's good enough, then why are you doing it? Now, I did my reunification services. I bent over backwards and I looked like that monkey the whole time. I didn't care what they told me to do. I did it. And I got my kids back. And that should have been good enough. Why is it being held against me 20 years later? That's not right. I should be able to take care of my grandson. I have a good home. I have a nice car. I have money. I can support him. Why do I am shunned out because I had a case against me because I sat there and did what they told me to do because I was scared that they were going to sit there and not give me my kids back. That's why. If I would have fought them, I wouldn't have had that case to start with.
Pepper, the case that you had 20 years ago, it wasn't even your fault. You made a report because of a domestic violence. So
Yep.
you were trying to protect your kids and yourself. However, they said that you failed to protect your children, even though you did the right thing by calling
Right.
for protection. Correct.
Yep.
It's not about drugs. It's not about that she's not a good
No.
mom. It's that she called the police that's supposed to serve and protect, as she should. But if she didn't call the police, then hey, you neglected to fail. I mean, you failed to neglect. I mean, you neglected your children. However, if you call the police, you still fail to protect your children.
You're
So
going to suffer either way.
either way, you suffer. Either way, you suffer. That is correct.
But anyways, so that's the reason why on the 25th of May, he went into court and he told them that he made a mistake and they give him drug classes. The judge said, I'm very proud of you for coming in here and admitting, you know, that you had made a mistake. We're not going to take the child out of the home. The social worker was livid. She was livid. She was planning this right from the start. I told James, I said, she is so mad right now. She's steaming. She took him on 2 days before Father's Day and laughed at my son. When my son said, well, you couldn't have waited until after Father's Day. Yeah, it was horrible. It was dramatic on him. It was dramatic on my grandson. And she laughed about it.
Yep. Yep.
She thought it was real funny. But she took him and placed him in my oldest son's home. He has a beautiful home, but he bought a new one because he already knew that he was going to get him.
Mm-hmm.
Way before it ever happened. He purchased a new home, and it had a pool. Everything was fine. They placed him there with him. We've been, you know, okay with that. But my son won't talk to us. He won't talk to us at all. He won't answer the phone.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to his brother. but if he has to talk to him, it's very short. We weren't really sure why. Maybe the social worker told him that he wasn't allowed to have contact with us, or what was going on, but he just got real cold with us. And then today he told us, James, you really have some issues you need to get a hold of. And he was like, what? He said, I've got the minute order. She gave me the minute order from the court.
Wow.
I was like, what's that supposed to mean? I don't even know what's on the minute report. I've never seen the minute report. Why is the social worker giving my other son, which is supposed to be the foster parent, anything that has to do with this case? I don't understand that at all. That's like some kind of breach of privacy, isn't it?
No, what they do is they divide the family apart. They go to your other son and they tell him things about your son. They're his brother, and things, and they try to divide you guys apart. And that's because when you're divided apart, you're weaker. When you're united, you are stronger. So united, you stand. Divided, you're weaker. That's why they do what they do, so they can turn everybody against each other.
That's exactly what they're doing, because the first thing they did was take me out because I was his voice, and I would tell him, you're not going to do that. They tried to get him for coaching this 3 times now. 3 times they've tried to do it. They've tried to prove that he was coaching the baby. 3 times now they've had to sit there and eat crow. I told him, no, you're not going to sit there and sign that paper that it could have or may have happened. No, you're not going to do that. We're going to go ahead and we're going to take it to court. And I told him, I want the evidence that you guys have against him. You guys have the same amount of time to get that evidence to us as we do to you. And when we sat there and showed them all of our evidence, all of a sudden they want to sit there and backpedal. But I want your evidence. But they didn't have no evidence. So I told them, you're not signing nothing. When they sit there and they give you one that says unfounded, then you'll come in here and you'll sign it, because it didn't happen. She would get real competitive.
Sorry, Pepper, but also remind them about what you said to me earlier, that your son didn't even, because he didn't have anything good about your son, anything bad about your son, they said that he's doing meth, remember?
Yes.
And he doesn't even do meth, but they wrote down in the report that he does meth, and his drug test was not dirty.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay.
So you need to make that point very clear.
This is how bad it is. He's going to the drug classes that they ordered for him. He had his phone on the speaker. He needed something. I can't remember if he had lost his ID or something, and they needed a copy of it. So he called her thinking that maybe she could help him with a copy that she had and have them send it over. She literally all but cussed him out on the phone. And the lady that runs the drug programs said, is that your worker that you was just talking to? And he said, yeah. She said, oh my goodness. Said, I would never think that was a professional person talking to you. He said, she talks to me like that all the time. She sat there and started screaming at him one time so loud in the home. She didn't think anybody was there, but his cousin was there. He's a truck driver, and he comes in every once in a while. And she was screaming at him, literally cussing at him, so much that the baby ran out of the room, ran behind the couch, and hid until she left.
Wow.
I don't understand what's going on. She's bullying my son.
Yep. She's bullying her son because he's doing everything to get his child back. That's what they do. But with the other mother who's telling the judge, I'm not going to do that. Don't tell me what to do. The judge is like, okay, but you actually treat, oh my God. It's like we're dealing with a narcissistic system. Government.
That's what she
Friends
is.
with government. Yeah, narcissists. They're all narcissists. And the thing about it is they actually enable other narcissists. But with the
Well,
parent that's actually trying to get the children, they treat them like dirt. Yep.
the
Because they
mother,
see them as weaker. Yeah.
the mother is narcissistic,
Yeah, I'm sure.
100%.
Yep.
She was very mean to James, and she would hit him with things. She would take things away from him. He wasn't allowed to buy anything for the baby. If he
Wow.
would buy him a toy, she would take it back to the store and say it was inappropriate for him, or he didn't like it, or she didn't like it.
Mhm.
He wasn't going to have it.
Yep.
And that's how it was. And she was the same way with my children.
So sad. That is true. That's how narcissists are. Yep.
When she left and went up there, that's why she told the judge that I don't have to come down there. It's because they think that, if it's not in their mind that they have to, they don't care who it is. Well, the social worker's the same way, and that's why they click. That's why they're like best friends. She'll sit there and tell stuff to her about James and James's program. It's weird. It's just like they're, communicating outside of just being a social worker and a client. James, however, if he even opens up his mouth about anything, she shuts him down immediately. And that's why I have a no contact order with the baby also. Now, because when I heard the recording of her telling him to lie to the agency to get more services, and which is that's actually, you keep asking me and I keep kind of like slipping off of the question. That's the whole reason why they took him, was because he missed some of those appointments. He was so overloaded trying to do all these appointments that the baby himself and James both got tired of doing all these appointments. The baby would throw a fit, and James was tired of fighting with him over it. And he missed like 5 of those appointments. Even though he had been doing them with these other ones, it wasn't the one that she wanted him to do it with. And I think that there was a little side thing on that too. He's a clinician in training and a social worker clinician in training. And she finally found one of them that said that he saw him coaching the child. That was what was in the report. But he said he didn't say that in the report. But that's what she put in the report to get him taken on, I think it was the 25th or 26th of June, when we went back to court after Father's Day, when he removed him from the home. She put in the report that this clinician in training said that he saw him coaching the child. And then me also, which I've never even spoken to the man at all. So I called him up. I called them all out on it during the team and family meeting. And I asked them, when have you ever talked to me? You've never talked to me. So they said, oh, well, you can't talk about that stuff in the meeting. This is, things for your grandson, and to see what's going to be bettering him and the pros and cons. And I said, well, first off, if we don't sit there and get everybody lined out to make that their priority here is him, then we're going to have issues. Because you sitting there making statements like it looks like he's been in bed all day. It's 4:00 in the afternoon and his hair's messy. Well, what does that have to do with anything with counseling? That's making a statement against somebody. You're supposed to be there to be helping these people with depression or whatever, and you're standing there making statements about the way that they look. You're making statements that's false, because you've never talked to me. You've never seen me interact with my grandson at all. So how could you sit there and make statements like that? And I told her too. And why would you ever sit there and have my son lie to this man right here and tell him that he didn't have services when you knew that he did have services. One, that's misuse of government funds, okay, because he's got 2 services going at the same time. You knew my son was already overloaded and you still packed on more stuff because you wanted him to fail. That's exactly why you did it. He was doing visits that he wasn't supposed to be doing, and that was court ordered, and you guys still made sure that he had to do those until the very end. So, because I made those statements when everybody was in there, so she couldn't get out of it, and neither could he, they sat there and said that it would probably be best if I didn't have any contact because I was a concern.
Did you ever tell them that you had this on audio tape?
Yeah, they said that that's illegal and we can't use them.
Well, that's not exactly correct. Generally in California, California is a 2-party state. Both people have to know they're being recorded, or it can't be used in any judicial or administrative proceeding ever. However, like everything else in California, there's exceptions. One of those exceptions is if you're recording the commission of a felony. Telling someone to lie to the court is a felony. So in my humble opinion, without listening to the tape, and you might want to consult his attorney or, another attorney, but in my humble opinion, that's admissible.
His attorney said that it wasn't. He said, we can't use any of it because...
But see, it's the commission of a felony. You can record someone that's telling you to commit a crime or committing a crime. If I were to tell you, hey, Pepper, go to court and lie to the judge, I'm telling you that's a felony. That's a crime. I'm suborning perjury. So
Well,
I think his attorney might be wrong on that.
Yeah, there's a lot of things his attorney was wrong on. The boy
Did
sat
he have
there for hours, and he made this book out of every single thing in it. Everything that they had put down, he went through and he wrote all the stuff down about how it's not true, showed them the evidence, marked on there where the conflict was or where it was disputed and how it was disputed. And he sat there for days and hours setting this up for his attorney. And he said, here's my evidence on everything. He said, we can't use that.
Did he review it?
No, he never even looked at it. I said, James, he's not going to do anything for you. He's going to just be, okay, let's go, let's do this. This is what they want you to do, so do it. I said, you're never going to get him back like that. And it makes me sad because my son's got the biggest heart ever. He's always trying to help other people. He's just a kid himself. Everybody's children flock to him. I don't know why. They think he's great. He's just got a pure heart. That's why. And when things like that happen, it hurts him super bad. It's just like it knocks him down to where it's hard for him to get back up. And them taking him away from him, and then his feeling like he's all alone and nobody there to help him. He's horrible right now. I feel so sad for him because there's nothing that I can do to fix it. He just sits there for hours and he listens to the stuff on his phone and he marks stuff down and he goes through that paper that she wrote and it's all bull, every bit of it. That we can't talk to the psychiatrist now because where he was removed from the home, he won't talk to us. The clinician, Only talked to him, I think, twice, and then she shut that down. She's not allowed to talk to him no more either. But the clinician pretty much said he didn't write that stuff in the report. Pretty much the psychiatrist said the same thing. He's not going to write anything in the report like that. She wrote in there that there was no sexual abuse and there was no physical abuse. He's already told me this. He's not going to ever say something like that because that's not what he's doing here. He's talking to him for other reasons to get him to cope with the things that's happened to him. He's not a physical doctor that goes in and checks to make sure that there hasn't been any physical abuse or sexual abuse. She wrote in there that he said that. He also wrote in there that he believes that we were alienating the mother, which we can prove time and time again that we didn't. That we were
But did the therapist say that or no?
No. He said that the CFS was alienating both parents. Yep. That it was going from both parents, not just one. And it wasn't the parents alienating from each other. It was CFS doing it. She's the one that told her that there was a no contact, that she couldn't talk to James. Although there was a co-parenting thing that was ordered. That's the only two services that she ever ordered from him, was the co-parenting and one other thing. I can't remember what it was. But that's the only thing that she ever ordered for James. And the only thing that she ever ordered for... And the only other thing that she ordered for my grandson was the more intense therapy. Which, another thing that bothered me also is if it was more intense therapy and he has ODD, which is a very, very, how would you say, that's a very serious diagnosis to have. And him being a clinician in training, I don't think that he has the proper training to sit there and do any kind of services with him at this point. He's already had psychiatrists and clinicians and counselors and everybody else, but they're doing a more intense therapy. Then I would think that he would need a more intense therapeutic counselor than one that's in training. Just personal opinion. But it's just been 4.5 years.
Hold on a second for a minute, Pepper. Georgette, what do you think about all of this?
They favor one parent. Okay, they favored one parent. However, they want to see one parent fail, so the system is twisting facts to fit their agenda. That's all they want. They just want to fit their agenda. They want to win. And how do they win? They want to be right. So how do they be right? They have to make up stories. They have to write false reports. They have to make sure that that one parent fails completely. So, like I said, I have been in communication with Pepper and her son. And I know her son very well now. And he is a sweetheart. He's a good man. And I will never forget when he actually was in tears on the phone with me. This man has done everything possible. And by the way, I did listen to the recordings, and yes, they did say that. So I'm a witness to that. The social workers did tell him to lie. Yeah. So the thing about it is that the social workers don't want to be held accountable. So what are they going to do? They're going to set him up to fail. And that's all they're going to do. Am I right, Pepper?
Yep.
Yep.
There's a lot of things that they did wrong with this case. There's a lot of civil rights that they broke. There's a lot of things that they've done that they know that they've done, and they're trying to cover it up.
Mhm.
I'm not stupid. I know I have a right to see my grandson, and I know I have a right to take him to the store. Just because I sat there and had a CFS case 20 years ago does not give her the right to sit there and take him away from me. I did
Yes.
my time.
And the thing about it is, Vincent, when they laugh at the parent crying, or the grandmother crying for her grandkids, or the parent crying for his child, they actually do laugh. Some people can't process that unless they see it with their own eyes. They actually do.
Oh, she
Pepper,
thought it was hilarious.
tell me if I'm right. They do laugh at her tears.
Oh,
They
yeah.
do. Hmm. They do. And then
Yeah,
on top of that, yeah, they actually, like I said, they're narcissists. Okay,
they
a
enjoy it.
narcissist to have power over you, they have to see you in pain. When they see you in pain, they're gonna know that they actually have the power over you to
It
use
was
you however they want,
it
and
was
that's
very
what they do.
right. It was very obvious when she sat there and did what she did, because it was right when I told James that he wasn't going to sign the khaki paper, that he
Mhm.
hasn't did anything wrong,
Mhm.
that he wasn't even in the vehicle at the time when the child came home. It was me and my mom. That's the other thing that they did to him. My mom passed away. He's the one that took care of my dad and my mom until they passed. The social worker knew that she passed away and sat there and told him, "Well, can't you get your grandmother to watch him?" Not once, not twice, but 3 times she did that to him over a drug test. Because he sat there and told him the governor of California said not to be taking the children out in public and doing things that you normally would do, to isolate yourself in the house and stay safe. Do you know what they told him? I don't give a what they said. The governor of the United States isn't one of running this program. I am. So I called the governor and I told him exactly what was going on. And they went down there and they made them all sit there and do more schooling. The whole place had to do schooling for a whole year. And I know that they know that I called. I know they do. But I don't think that that's right for them to sit there and tell him to take his child to a place that's already been shut down twice for COVID. Twice. And they're wanting him to take his child in there and set him down while he goes and does a drug test when he's already given them 26 clean tests. Now, you tell me the sense in that. It got so bad that they had another social worker come out and get my grandson and take him to the testing place while he watched him so he could test for him. During all this,
How old is your grandson?
he's 7 now. It's been going on longer than half of his life. And he's tired too. He just wants them all to go away.
You know, earlier you mentioned that the social worker didn't like your son. I even
Oh,
think you used the word hated your son. What happened there? What caused that, do you think?
um, right at the beginning, it was all over the marijuana card, the medical marijuana card. They pretty much told him that he's not allowed to have it. And he said, "Yes, I am allowed to have it. That's why I have the medical marijuana card. I've had it for 7 years. I have a medical diagnosis for it. It helps me digest my food, to settle my stomach, make me eat. And um, I'd rather take that than taking all the pain pills and everything." Uh, and they threw a fit about it. Well, when we went to court the first time, they sat there and told him, "Oh, well, when we go into court, they're going to end up taking your son too, because They don't look. They don't look um, on the smoking marijuana as being a good thing. So we went to court. The judge said, I don't see an issue with it. The only thing that I'm concerned about is the smoking part of it, that it could be transferred to your son. Um, I know that you told us that you go outside to medicate, and uh, if you could try to get a hold of your physician and ask them if there's another way that you could uh, take your medication. So he did. He started taking tinctures, which is some liquid form of marijuana that's non-psychoactive, and it works very well for him. But I think it was the fact that the judge didn't say anything to him about it, and it really made them mad, because this was a battle that they had for 3 weeks prior to us going to court, that he wasn't allowed to do it. And my son told him pretty much that card says he is allowed to do it, and it's through a physician and it's through a doctor, and you're trying to tell me that I don't have the right to choose my medical. Is that what you're telling me? My choice of medical, the way I sit there and want to do it. So they got mad at him right off the bat for that. And my son, he speaks his mind. He tells them, if he doesn't think something's right, he tells them. He might do what they tell him to do, but he tells them exactly what he thinks about it. And they don't like that.
Right.
It's when he tells them, no, you can't do that. That's a civil rights violation. You can't do that because of this.
Right.
You can't do that because of that. And they don't like that. He's starting to learn now, because his attorney had told him, you need to make the social worker your best friend. You need to do everything she tells you to do, no matter what. And that's
I disagree with that. No.
Yep, that's what he told him.
That's generally not my strategy, but it is a strategy. And I've heard, other attorneys say that for years.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I guess they call it the practice of law. We're running out of time, coming to the end of the show. Georgette or Pepper, did you guys have any questions for me?
No.
Okay. Georgette, any questions? Any further comments?
I actually want to say something. I want to make. I need to share something with the public. So, Child Protective Services, CPS, and family courts are stealing our children and our money through the Social Security Fund for the Title V, and in the federal funding signed into effect through the Safe Families Act of 1997 by former President Bill Clinton. I am done with my petition. This is part of my petition to make a change, and I will be posting it very soon. I'm hoping everybody can sign it and get more people to sign it so we can be heard.
I read your petition. It's very good. I would suggest you post it at change.org.
Yes.
Change.org, you got it. It's my first petition ever in my life. So yeah.
File it at change.org. A lot of people are going to sign it, and you can take change.org to Congress or to your state legislature and try to get things changed. New laws, different laws, modify existing laws.
Yes, and also I'm also in the petition. I'm including that they should be forced to wear body cameras, because right now social workers have more power than cops. Literally, they have more control over children than a police officer has rights, and that is really effed up. And on top of that, if the police is required to wear cameras, why can't they wear cameras? What makes them so effing special that they cannot wear a camera? With their high school diploma and all, they can't spell 2 words. Actually, and they can't even have a clear sentence that you can understand. And actually, a social worker's qualification is just a high school diploma. But yet they're psychiatrists, they're therapists, and they're your mama and your dada. So it's kind of like, what? That is, what the hell are they thinking? It doesn't make any sense. They act like they're perfect. Perfect. And to me, I think they need to wear body cameras. They should. They should be forced to. That's very important.
I think
Right?
it is important.
Yep, it is. So that way, when they talk to your child, your grandchild, or you, or anybody, the judge can clearly see and hear what they're saying to you. What are they telling your grandson who's 7 years old? You better say this, or you're not going to see your mom. I mean, your dad. Or you better say this, or you're not going to see your grandma. So a 7-year-old, guess what? They will say it. Because in their mind, they want this over so they can go back to normal. And then when the child doesn't get what they said he should have, then the child starts reacting. The child starts getting angry and resenting and in the corner by themselves. And then the social worker calls you and your son and says, because of you.
Yep, that's what they did.
Exactly. See, that's all because of you, but they don't see what they put the child through. Children need their families.
I think them forcing him to talk to her when he was having such an emotional time with it, I think it was child abuse because they forced him to do it. They caused him mental stress and anguish. So I think that they caused as much abuse towards him than anybody.
They're abusers. They're abusers. They're bullies. They're manipulative. They're narcissistic. They're sociopathic. They're horrible.
Yep.
Horrible.
And he was begging her today not to go. Begging her, just like he used to me. Yep.
They're horrible.
That was the last thing that James heard was him.
Yep. Yeah. And his son saying, don't leave me, daddy. You know, that's painful. That's very painful and disgusting. And shame on them. They have no feelings. They actually have no values. They're it's like they're dark inside. Dark. There's absolutely not. They're dark. They need to be held accountable. That's very important. That's part of my petition too. They need to be held accountable. You hold a police officer accountable, but you don't hold a scumbag like a social worker accountable for stealing children? Give me a break. You want to defund the police, right? But you don't want to defund CPS? Because now the world thinks if your children are taken from you, that means you're a bad mom. Or that means you're a bad dad. Or you're a bad grandma. That's not true. Unless it happens to you, then you'll know that those people were innocent. Okay? So they take kids from good parents. They take kids who are not sick. They take kids who are actually taken care of by the parents because they're easier to adopt. They're easier, really, to get funding for. Because the kids who are challenged or what have you, it's not that easy to adopt those kids. You know, so what they do, they put them in a system for a very long time. And sometimes they don't ever get adopted. So I've learned a lot working with Mr. Davis, and it's disgusting what I have learned. It's disgusting. And I'm definitely doing something about it. And I'm also, I'm trying to start something for parents who can't afford hiring an attorney. Because I know when you hire an outside attorney, they need help. And I know they can't do it on their own. So I'm brainstorming with other moms, and I hope you can be a part of it, Pepper, where we can get together and find a way to fund these mothers and fathers that need help, and grandparents like you. And that's very important because court-appointed attorneys, and I know Vincent will disagree with me on that, but court-appointed attorneys are useless because they know the truth, but they're stupid because they don't want to address the truth and the facts because they're afraid to deal with the state. They're afraid to deal with the county. So to me, they're useless. But
They're
then you have
against the ones that are paying their paycheck.
There you go. But then they work with the social workers too. They actually go out together after on Friday nights. Right. They actually all go out together and talk about things, and they actually drink together, by the way. And they probably do weed together too, most likely. So what I'm trying to tell you is that they do things together. So they're acting like they're perfect. They're not perfect. I actually have a video of a social worker actually at the Monterey Park Courthouse, as a matter of fact. I'm not going to say his name, but a person saw him in a club with one of the attorneys that representing her son. And one of her friends in the club said, "Isn't this so and so?" Because she met him in court one time. And she took a picture of it and sent it to her. I know who that attorney is. I know who he is. And you know what's so sad? They were out drinking and having a great time. Okay? But yet they go take kids from their families because the father had a beer in the house, or the mother had a glass of wine to relax at night. Ain't that something? Because some neighbor made an allegation about her or him. It's disgusting. And then they just go and take kids. So to me, they're useless. And I will say they're useless until the day I die. Okay? That's all I have to say.
I don't know what to say after that, Reverend Truman. Preach, Reverend. Preach. I won't get into it because we've had this discussion before about some of the things that we agree and disagree.
He disagrees with me. He disagrees.
No, I don't totally disagree with you.
That some of them, they have their own social life or whatever, but I don't care who you are. It's hard to sit there and separate that social life from that non-social life. You're gonna go.
But they're in bed together. They're together. They're together. They're like in bed together. Together. They're all together. Yep, they're all together.
That would be really hard to know.
Yeah, they're all together. I don't care what anybody says. I have seen things that they're all together. Yeah. People take videos. People don't understand that you're being watched. They are being watched. I mean, they're being watched.
Okay, Rev. Well, I want to thank you for being the co-host as usual of this show. I want to thank Pepper for being on. Pepper, I hope you give us a call or give Georgette a call. We might be able to offer you some advice and assistance. I know it's going to be, it's been a long, hard battle, but as a couple of the viewers have posted, never give up. Don't ever give up.
Nope.
And of course, I want to thank everybody that is on the live streams on the 8 different social media channels. Thank you for watching and thank you for viewing.
I want to thank you too. I want to thank you for all the people that you're helping, because we're just kind of out here. We don't know what to do, and we're lost on all of this. And half of the attorneys don't want to bother with it. And I just want to tell you thank you, because you're bringing a lot of light to a lot of people. You're helping us.
I want to tell people also, check out my YouTube channel. There are a lot of videos on there. I think we have like 350, maybe even more videos. And they give little tips. Every once in a while, I get an email or somebody calls in on the radio show or something and says, "Hey, Mr. Davis, I just wanted to tell you I got my kids back. The videos really helped me." So go there and watch those videos. Maybe you'll pick up something that you can use.
Every one of them.
That's a lot of videos. All right. So thank you everyone for watching. By the way, Pepper, have you heard of beatcps.tv?
No.
So when we get off the feed tonight, go to beatcps.tv. You're going to be very surprised. Okay. Tomorrow night, we have Amanda Cisco, and she co-hosts a show with me, Fight CPS, the Civil Rights Struggle. So tune in tomorrow at 7 p.m. Pacific time, and we'll be talking about civil rights lawsuits against CPS and social workers. All right. Good night, everyone. Thank you for watching.
Good night.